Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Stephanie and my voice is a little straggly today. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, so bear with me here. Hopefully it'll get a little bit better as the video goes on. Anyway, I have not done a what sold video in forever, and so I wanted to get on here and do one. Unfortunately, because it's been so long since I've done one, I have a huge multitude of items to get through, so I am going to try and get through them and go. The good news is I have a lot of different items. I have a lot of a great variety of items, so that's kind of good. But anyway, let's get to it. Let's go over what has sold. And by the way, the ones I'm going through today are all what has sold on eBay. I do also have items listed at the RealReal. I'll do those another time. And I have other places that I sell as well, but today we're just going to go over eBay. I have been selling a lot lately because I've been listing a lot. From many different sources I've gotten items, but all right, let's start out. Let's start out with this pair of Versace collection jeans. I got these jeans in a thread-up DIY designer box probably about 4 or 5 months ago, something like that. And they sold for $39. I thought, obviously Versace collection is a great name, but you always just have to find. I don't have a lot of luck selling jeans actually, but anyway, $39 those sold for. Took them about 4 months to sell. Next up is this pair of L'Artiste Spring Step sandals. L'Artiste, however you say it, is a company out of California. And they make Spring Step makes various brand names. You've probably, if you watch my channel, seen this brand name Spring Step before. Or sorry, L'Artiste. It's one of my favorite brands. And those sold. I got them at the Goodwill bins when I was on my trip with my other reseller friends just a few weeks ago. So these sold. I just paid a couple dollars for them, and they sold for $28. So that was a pretty good deal. All right. So L'Artiste, if you ever see shoes by L'Artiste, or if you see the word Spring Step on a pair of shoes, they've got various brands. L'Artiste is one of the better ones, but Artesia, I believe, is another one, and they've got various brands. So if you see Spring Step, pick those up. Next up is this cute yellow round tray by Levenger, and I got this at a thrift store, and it sold for $19.60, and it took about 3 months to sell. It's just a cute decorative. Anytime I see leather goods like that, home decor leather goods, I look at and see if there's a name. And I didn't know Levenger beforehand, but they do have some good items. So if you see that name, pick them up. Next up is this Trina Turk nude tag swimsuit. I just got this a couple of weeks ago at TJ Maxx on yellow tag clearance. And Trina Turk swimsuits, any kind of nice branded swimsuit like that will sell well. So it only took a couple days to sell that swimsuit, so I need to get all the rest of those listed that I have. So there are people that say TJ Maxx is not good for, it's not a good way to get things to sell. I totally disagree, and you'll see that throughout this video. Next up is this ultra fine sterling silver watch that I got at a local auction around the Minneapolis area, and it sold for $55. They are a lot more expensive when they're new, but this was used, and so I was okay getting $55. It probably took about 8 months or something like that to sell. Next up is this pair of Bruno Magli peep toe pumps. I got these a really long time ago, probably a year and a half ago, believe it or not. I think they've been listed for a year and a half. And they're just cloth. They weren't. They were leather. They were like a textured leather. And they did take a long time to sell. Bruno Magli, I think, is kind of like it's just not a name people are looking for as much as they used to, maybe. But they took well over a year to sell, and they sold for $20. Came in a DIY designer box, one of the first ones I got. So there we go. At least they sold. Next up is this Armani Collezione women's printed blazer. It was adorable. I loved that blazer. If it had fit me, I would have kept it. This came in a DIY designer box. Took probably 6 months to sell. Sold for $23. It's about my cost, so not the best, not the worst. Next up is this Franklin Covey genuine leather red briefcase. Franklin Covey, you probably know, is a company that sells quality, like planners and things like that. And this bag was not used at all. I found it at a thrift store at a pretty good price. It sold for $22. It took a few months to sell. Franklin Covey is a good name to pick up if you get that, especially if it's real leather items. Next up is this Vertigo Paris women's women's belted jacket. It was really cute. I thought it would sell faster than this. Vertigo Paris is a pretty good brand name. It's not high-end designer or anything, but the things they have are stylish and cute. So this sold for $22. It took about a year. It took a while to sell. That was out there for kind of a long time. Next is this new with tags Michael Kors turquoise short sleeve knit top. That was yellow tag clearance from TJ Maxx. It only took a couple of days to sell. So there we go, TJ Maxx yellow tag. Excuse me. Next up is this Trina Turk swimsuit cover-up. Sold for $39. Took about 2 days to sell. That was TJ Maxx yellow tag clearance. Hardly took any time at all. And next is this new without tags Calypso St. Barth blue cashmere sweater. Another TJ Maxx yellow tag clearance. A couple of days to sell. Sold for $30, and I paid hardly anything for it. So, yeah, it was a beautiful. I almost thought of keeping it myself, but I have so many scarves and wraps and things like that already. I just didn't need it, but it was really pretty. So, $30. Only took a couple days to sell. Next up is this men's RLX Ralph Lauren Pebble Beach quarters that pull over. My ex-husband gave this to me to sell. He's a big golfer. Men's RLX Ralph Lauren is a great brand name. If you ever see that, at least check the comps. But it's usually a pretty good seller. So they're really expensive, by the way, those items to buy new. And I have been to Pebble Beach, and buying things new at their store there's hardly anything less than $100, and $100 is not. That's where it starts. Put it that way. All right, next up is this Parker new with tags dress. I got this at a thrift store. It had some ink stains on them, and believe it or not, it was $1. I paid $1 for that at a thrift store. It was new with tags. It was a $300 dress, and I thought for $1 I'll try to get the ink stains out. And I used Clorox Color Safe bleach along with. I went to their website and I got instructions from them on how to get ink out, and it worked. Believe it or not, it worked. There was ink. Someone had taken a pen and written on this dress, and I got all of it out. So anyway, it sold. It took 3 months to sell that dress, and it sold for $25. But if you would like another video on how to remove ink stains, I would love to do that video if anyone's interested, because boy, oh boy, does that open up the world when you can remove ink stains from things. I don't think it'll work on all surfaces, but I think it will on most fabric surfaces. So, okay, $25 for that one. Parker is a great brand name. So if you ever find a Parker dress, it didn't sell right away, but it did sell. It was a really pretty dress. Next is this Patrizia Pepe, and that is a jacket. It's a plaid jacket. Another jacket. I'm a sucker for a cute jacket. If that had been my size, I would have kept it. That sold it took probably a year to sell that jacket, and it sold for $20. I do think I paid more for that jacket, but that's how it goes when you sell on eBay. You just never know, right? So you have to have the right person at the right time. Next is this Acne Studios sweater. It is a striped sweater. It came in a DIY designer box. Took about 6 months to sell. I thought it would sell faster. Acne Studios is a Swedish designer brand, and usually does sell pretty well. But this sweater it was a size extra small, so it's a little harder to sell those tiny sizes. But anyway, it did sell finally, and I did make a little money on it, so I did okay on that one. Next is this Karl Lagerfeld crossbody camera bag, lime green. This Karl Lagerfeld, this was TJ Maxx yellow tag clearance. Just took about a week to sell. It's another one I just got recently, and I just can't believe Karl Lagerfeld. If you find that on clearance or on sale, Karl Lagerfeld sells really well, and so I did really well on this one. So if you find that name, be sure to sell. And they sell fast too, by the way. There's another one in here that I'm going to be going over with that brand name. Next is this Steve Madden B Teensy crossbody bag. It was so cute. It was just a tiny like crossbody bag, kind of like it was almost like a box type bag. Anyway, yellow tag clearance. Just took probably a week to sell, and it sold for $32. And next is this Miu Miu black leather peep toe heels. These were in a DIY designer bag. You know, Miu Miu is a good designer brand name. You never know about selling used shoes. People are a little odd about used shoes, and I can't blame them. You want to make sure they're clean and stuff, and so the prospect of buying used shoes, some people just don't want to. But anyway, these took, I don't know, about 4 or 6 months to sell, something like that. Sold for $30, and they were gorgeous. They were so gorgeous. Just a little too high for me, unfortunately. And next is this Longchamp orange foldable convertible Le Pliage bag. And that came in a DIY box, and that sold for $35. So I did okay on that. It did have some wear, and so that obviously affects the selling price. Next up is this pair of Dr. Martens floral shoes. Dr. Martens is such a good brand name. They didn't, thrift stores don't usually sell them for too cheap. They sell them for a good price. But then if you list them on eBay, you can usually make a profit. I did make a little profit. I didn't make a ton of profit on these. The toe part was all scuffed up, unfortunately, but they still sold for $27.30. And they were a good size too. Size 12 maybe. They were a larger size. And there's not a lot of larger sizes out there, so I'm sure someone was glad to get those. They were really cute. Next is this Sandra Roberts squared faux leather nautical bag, and I got this at a local thrift store and for a really good price. It sold for $22, and it took about a month to sell. Not too bad. It was a really cute bag. Sandra Roberts squared, I believe, is most of the items are vegan leather. They're not real leather. But you see it at like Nordstrom Rack and things like that. They have a lot of cute styles. I've done pretty well selling Sandra Roberts squared bags. They seem to sell really well. This one was brand new with tags, and it was at a thrift store. So next up is this Nautica women's navy blue swimsuit. TJ Maxx yellow tag clearance. Took about 2 or 3 days to sell, and it sold for $48. It was a nice swimsuit. I had a feeling it would go fast. And next is this Anna Paolo new with tags Italian green leather mini bucket bag made in Italy. Got that on TJ Maxx yellow tag clearance. Took about a week to sell, and it sold for $35. Yay for that. Anna Paolo, I've sold this is probably the 10th little bucket bag of that brand name I've sold, and all from TJ Maxx, and people want them. It's the styles are so cute, and the leather's soft and Italian, and so that is a great name to get if you can find that. Next is this pair of John Fluevog black leather lace-up granny boots. And I went over this just a few weeks ago in the reseller event when we were all together. John Fluevog, almost any condition of boots. John Fluevog makes boots, and they're usually a little bit funky. They're a little different. I got these at the bins, and they sold within a week. I think within a couple of days of listing them. They sold for $65, so that was a great deal. These were absolutely adorable boots. They were so cute, and they sold very quickly. I still have another pair of John Fluevog boots for sale. I have the price at $150, so they haven't sold yet, but they will. So John Fluevog, definitely a name to even write down on a piece of paper and just try and remember when you go, because that name sells. They're very cute, and they're very expensive to buy new. Next is this pair of Jeffrey Campbell nude beige leather sandals. These were super cute. I found these at a thrift store. Or did I? No, I found these at the bins. Actually, I found these at the bins. They sold for $20, and they sold within a couple of months. Jeffrey Campbell, you probably know. It's a name that you can find at places like Anthropologie and other nice high-quality resale places. So these were probably over $100 new, at least over. And I sold them. They were in like new condition. So that is good. All right, next up is this new with tags Steve Madden gift set. It was a hat and a mini backpack. Steve Madden items do sell. Steve Madden bags do sell. This item, I had bought several of these on yellow tag clearance in February, this past February. So it was TJ Maxx yellow tag clearance. And this set did sell for $29. Took a few months to sell, but that's okay because it did sell and I did okay on it still. All right, the next one I love. I love this. This one, another one to write down on in your phone or on a piece of paper and bring with you the next time you go thrifting. But this pair of Red Wing boots, $8.75 boots. These boots were all full of paint and they had lots of marks on them. And I found one boot at the bins and I thought, oh, I hope I can find the other one. And believe it or not, some people like to buy boots that have wear on them. As long as the boots aren't, well, even sometimes if they are ruined, people will buy them. It used to be a thing in Japan and places like that. I think it still probably is. But these boots I got at the bins. They cost me about $5. I planned on listing them to sell them overseas because Red Wing boots are really expensive overseas. Like we're talking $500, $600, $700 expensive. So I listed them and they sold within a couple of days. They were all full of paint, but the structure of the boots was still good, by the way. I sold them for $110 and it only took a couple of days. So be on the lookout for Red Wing boots. And the least you can do is check the comps. This style, $8.75, is a very, very popular style with them. They're made in the USA. They've got a crepe sole. They're kind of like the typical Red Wing boots pair of boots. So they're great. Keep on the lookout for this one. This was a unicorn find. It was great, and it was when I was with my reseller friends, so that was extra fun. Okay, so next up is this new in the box pair of Michael Kors earrings. Got those from TJ Maxx, and they sold for, I think I got them from TJ Maxx. I start to forget. I've been sourcing so much. They sold for $18.99, and it only took them about a week to sell. And next is this Giorgio Armani pair of floral fabric pumps. And those came in a DIY designer box. And they took several months to sell. And they sold for $35. They were a really cute pair of shoes. And next is this pink and silver Lily Pulitzer dress. I got that at a thrift store. It was a really small size. I think it was like a 0. And Lily Pulitzer does sell, but again, it's harder to sell the smaller sizes. So it sold for $24, and it took probably 6 months to sell, something like that. Next up is this Jimmy Choo limited edition PEP clutch bag. It had a lot of the design on this bag had kind of worn off, and not worn off, but it kind of crackled. And it just didn't, look as good as it maybe could have. Otherwise, the back side of it was really crackled. And so someone did buy it, though. It took about a month to sell. It sold for $46.20. And hopefully they were happy with it. Like I said, the front of it was okay. If you were just carrying it and showing the front, it was okay. So I would have got a lot more if it hadn't been, crackling. So next up is this new with tags Furla envelope clutch bag. It was brand new with tags. I got that I got it at TJ Maxx for myself, but then I just didn't use it. I can't remember what the reason was I got it, but I just didn't use it, so I resold it. I don't remember exactly how much I paid for it, but anyway, it sold for $62. It took probably 6 months to sell. Next is the St. John Blue Santana knit tank. It was like a sweater material. This came in a DIY designer box. It was really pretty. And it sold for $27. It took kind of a long time to sell. I was surprised. It took several months to sell that item. So St. John hasn't been selling for me as much as it used to, as fast as it used to. But that's okay. It did sell, and $27 was okay. So next up is this new with tags Bessie Johnson skull crossbody bag. This one was one of those that had a ton of watchers, but it took about almost 6 months to sell. I did get this at the prior TJ Maxx, I think in January. I think I got that bag in yellow tag clearance. So it did sell for $34. So I thought that was pretty good. And I'm going to stop right here and come back. Okay, so next up is another Karl Lagerfeld. Remember that brand name I said sells so well? TJ Maxx yellow tag clearance. Here it is. It took about 2 days to sell, and it sold for $59.50. Karl Lagerfeld has some really unique items and some really trendy items. That brand, I tell you what, is really good at keeping on trend, especially with younger people. And anyway, some of the newer trending items, they all sell well. Everything Karl Lagerfeld, the newer stuff that I sell, has sold well. So anyway, just took a couple days to sell, $59. Keep your eye out for those items. Next up is this pair of Tory Burch orange suede ballet flats. I got those at a thrift store, and they sold for $22. They were a little bit dirty. I mean, I tried to clean them. I cleaned off the dirt, but I mean, they were, the suede just had some marks I could not get off on them. So anyway, they sold for $22, and they took a couple of months to sell. Next up is this Badgley Mischka blue faux leather chain strap purse. Badgley Mischka is a great brand name, especially when you have something new that tags. You can find higher end Badgley Mischka items at the Real. This item was from Yellow Tag clearance. Took a week to sell. Super cute bag. Sold for $49. So I did really well on that one. And like I said, Badgley Mischka, the shoes, used shoes don't sell so well, but bags, they're even the full leather doesn't really seem to matter. They sell well. So they're on trend, and they're really good looking bags. So next up is this Armani pendant stainless steel stress necklace. I found this at a thrift store. I made a little bit of money on it, but I didn't do so well. I thought about keeping this necklace because it's a long story. But anyway, the necklace it's kind of a new age kind of necklace, but it was very pretty as well. And it did take, 3 or 4 months to sell, and it sold for $59. And Harmony is not a big name, but they do seem to sell on eBay. So if you see a necklace like that, it's something to consider picking up. All right, next up is this Swarovski white and silver watch holder. This was a Yellow Tag clearance from 6 months ago, and it sold for $22. It was imperfect. It had been kind of a display item. People had it had some marks on it and things. So it was a really cute one, though. All right, next up is this Portland leather goods. Just a little swing bag. It was in really, really good condition. It sold for $20. And I learned about this brand from Kristen at Kristen D. Resale, and this Portland leather is great. I mean, the items that they have are just beautiful. The leather is just wonderful. Anyway, so I got it at a consignment shop about 3 or 4 months ago. I picked it up. It was on clearance. It was a really screaming deal, and so I did okay on that one. Portland leather is obviously, it's an American company, and it's just really cool. So if you ever find that name. And thank you to Kristen for putting me on to that brand name. Next up is this Jason Wu, new with tags. Vegan leather. It's like a shoulder bag, kind of like that waffly look. But it's faux leather. And I got that at TJ Maxx Yellow Tag clearance just a couple weeks ago. Only took a couple weeks to sell, and it sold for $33.60. And super cute bag, by the way. And Jason Wu's a great brand name. And you do see some, very rarely do I see items like that at TJ Maxx, but it was there. So next up is another Badgley Mischka quilted bag, a faux leather quilted bag. And then that was from the 6 months ago TJ Maxx Yellow Tag clearance. Sold for $20.97. And it took, 5 or 6 months to sell, but that's okay. Badgley Mischka will sell eventually. So next up, one of my favorite sales right here is this Rosie, I don't know how you say this, Asoline, I don't know. Anyway, it came in a thread up DIY, or a thread up fabric and textile box. And, it had a rip right where the button would go in. It had a tear, and then the button was also missing. So an accident happened with this dress. This dress retails for over $1,000. But because of that tear, it took, I had it for sale for, probably 4 months, and it didn't sell. And so finally it sold for $40. I was happy to get that. I still did I paid for more than the whole box of stuff. So yeah, I was pretty happy with that. It was really fun. I thought about getting it repaired, but I just don't have the time to do that. I could repair it myself, but I'm not a professional in that way. So anyway, $40 for that one. I love getting good items in those fabric and textile boxes. Next up is this pair of Jimmy Choo black pointed toe leather ballet flats. They had a cute little detail on the toe. These came in a DIY designer box from ThredUp, and they sold for $30.80. So I did okay on those. They were fairly worn, but they were really, really cute. They did fit me, but you can't keep them all, right? So, all right, just a few left now. Next up is this Judith Ripka 925 silver ring with 4.5 karat morganite. And I got this, thank you to Christina from Stina Resells, because I learned about Judith Ripka from one of her sales that she had done, one of her jewelry sales. And I really, I'm not the biggest jewelry knower, so I don't buy a ton of jewelry, but I saw this at a thrift store in California, and I bought it with the thought of keeping it, but we all know I really just like to make money, so I ended up selling it, and I did pretty well on it, actually. I got $190 for that ring, and so it was great, and it only took probably 2 or 3 months to sell, so that was okay. It was really, really a pretty ring. It was in excellent condition. And by the way, I will mention one thing is Judith Ripka, a lot of the times it will be, you could find the selling details by Googling it and going to a place like QVC. This ring was sold at QVC. So even though the ring was no longer for sale, and it hadn't been for sale for quite some time, the details were still out there on their website on an orphan page, So that was good. That really helped me sell the ring, I'm sure. So next up is this pair of Stuart Weitzman brown snakeskin driving loafers. These were in really good condition. I got them at a thrift store. I don't remember if it was the Bins or a regular thrift store, but they sold, they didn't, they were there for various months and they sold for $15, so I didn't do great on those. But we all know Stuart Weitzman is a good brand name and has really quality items, so pick that one up. I can't remember, I think I probably did lose a little bit of money on those, but I'm not positive. Anyway, next up is this new with tags Coach black satin jewelry roll travel case. And this came in, it was an accessory in a ThredUp DIY Coach box. So it sold for $28. So I did okay on that one. I made a little bit of money on that one. So I rushed through this box fairly quickly. That is because I haven't done one in a while. Shame on me, right? Summertime comes and I am going out with my friends every single night. Every week I tell myself, this week I'm not. I'm going to stay home, blah, blah, blah. I don't do it. Then someone calls and says, let's go do this and let's go do this. Let's go to concert in the park. Let's go to Wednesday night is winery night. Let's go to... So, you know what? I'm really not going to say I'm sorry for that because I love to go out and have fun. And I love my friends and family. So, but also I love doing these videos. And so I hope that you got something out of this. I hope that you enjoyed watching it. Thank you so much for watching. And I sure do appreciate anyone who watches my videos. Thank you so much for that. Have a wonderful day.